It's impossible for most of us to imagine that just 25 years after 9/11, the Red-Green Alliance, the Islamist, socialist, leftist axis would be ascendant and culturally and politically powerful in the United States, dominating portions of the culture, dominating parts of our politics with the election of socialist candidates in New York, following the example of the anti-Zionist bigot Zohran Mamdani. And these anti-Zionists blame Jews for October 7th. They blame Jews for society's ills through the lens of AIPAC. They call AIPAC and its backers monsters, using dehumanizing language that dehumanizes Jews and uses anti-Jewish conspiracies. So how did we get here? Why is it pertinent to 9/11? Well, in a lot of ways, the conspiracy frameworks that we saw after 9/11 set the model for what we see now in a post-October 7th anti-Zionist world. We didn't fully grasp it at the time, but after Al-Qaeda terrorists murdered nearly 3,000 people in the 9/11 attacks, conspiracy mongers, anti-Zionists began blaming Jews and Israel. They falsely claimed that Jews stayed home from the World Trade Center, called in sick to work that day. Totally false, of course. We know some 400 Jews were murdered that day. Conspiracy mongers blamed Israel for 9/11. They blamed Mossad. They said Zionists were the true culprits, not the Islamist terrorists who hijacked the airplanes. Not Osama bin Laden, but Israel. Al-Qaeda's anti-Zionist ideology was erased from the picture, along with 9/11's Jewish victims. In their place, anti-Zionists asserted a new reality, a new framework, in which Jews were not the victims of Islamist slaughter on 9/11, but the secret, all-powerful force working in league with Israel as the perpetrators of the attacks. All of these lies inverted reality, inverted the truth. It sounded fringe in 2001 because there was no X, there was no mass social media. It was much harder to spread propaganda in an analog world. 25 years later, it seems that 9/11 was a cultural rehearsal, really, for the anti-Zionist propaganda effort we've seen since 10/7. Hamas's massacre on October 7th, like 9/11, is treated by anti-Zionists as some kind of revelation about Zionists and their hidden power, being behind all of our society's ills, even responsible for their own murders on October 7th. The 9/11 anti-Jewish conspiracists at that time tried to spread these conspiracies to create a social permission structure where Jews could be blamed and attacked and blamed for 9/11 and therefore persecuted with social license. It failed at the time. It was on the fringes of society. It got to the edge of the mainstream but didn't make it because there was no social media. There was no Qatar and Iran and Russia and China spending billions to spread anti-Jewish conspiracies after 9/11. That changed after October 7th. Now that social permission structure is very much in place, which is why Jews are under attack, not just in America, but all over the world. 9/11 showed America how anti-Jewish conspiracies work, how damaging they are, not just to Jews, but to all Americans and all Westerners. But it also gave our enemies in the global anti-Zionist axis fresh ideas about how to damage and divide America by attacking Jews and Zionists. With the help of post-9/11 social media platforms and the global anti-Zionist propaganda campaign being funded by countries like Qatar, Russia, China, our enemy's playbook is working in a way that they could have never dreamed after 9/11. Who could have imagined on 9/11 that a leftist, socialist, Islamist alliance, the Red-Green Alliance, would 22 years later, on October 7th, become a massive cultural and political force in the United States? Yet that's where we are now.